All right, today we're diving into Australia's immigration numbers, and specifically, a really big mismatch that's been happening. It's this story about a huge gap between what's planned and what's actually going on, and it all kicks off with one pretty provocative question.
So, the source material we're looking at today frames the whole issue with this very question. Two sets of accounting books? I mean, that's a pretty wild phrase, isn't it? It immediately suggests there might be two very, very different stories being told about Australia's population.
Yeah, that phrase really gets your attention, right? It's the kind of thing you expect to hear in a big corporate scandal, not when you're talking about national planning. So what on earth could it mean in this context?
Well, let's be super clear. We're not talking about literal physical accounting books here. It's a metaphor. It's pointing to this deep disconnect between the official plan, the forecast, and the on-the-ground reality of who is actually showing up.
Okay, so now that we've got that idea in our heads, let's dig into the evidence behind this claim. This is what the source material calls the forecasting fay.
And to really get a sense of just how big this disconnect is, we're going to zoom right in on the numbers from just one single recent financial year. And here it is. For the 2022-2023 financial year, the official Treasury forecast was for about 235,000 people. But the actual number of people who arrived? A whopping 535,520.
Let's just put that into perspective for a second. That's more than double what was planned for. The actual number was 128% higher than the forecast. I mean, just let that number hang in the air for a moment.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. Okay, that's a huge miss, but maybe it was just a fluke, a single bad year of forecasting. Well, the data we're looking at suggests not really. This seems to be a consistent pattern.
And this chart here, it tells the whole story. See the light blue bars? That's the official plan, the Treasury forecast. And the bright orange bars? Well, that's reality. You don't need to be a data scientist to see that massive gap between the two.
Let's just walk through this trend. In 2021-22, the forecast was off by a mind-boggling 397%. The next year, the one we just looked at, 128%. And then for 2023-24, the real number was still 90% higher than they thought it would be. This isn't just a simple error. It's a very clear pattern.
Okay, so the numbers are consistently and significantly off. But so what? Why is this a bigger deal than just a statistical curiosity? What are the real-world consequences when a country's planning and its reality are so far apart?
The source material we're drawing from puts it pretty bluntly with this statement. The argument here is that when you have such a huge, unplanned-for number of people arriving, it makes it incredibly difficult for the rest of society to prepare and adapt.
And according to the source, this planning gap has serious knock-on effects. I mean, think about it. When you have hundreds of thousands more people than you planned for, that puts immense pressure on things like the housing and rental markets. It strains infrastructure. We're talking transport, schools, hospitals. And, ultimately, when official plans miss the mark by this much, over and over, it can start to wear away at public trust. So that's the pattern and the potential impact that our source data points to. But that, of course, brings us to the obvious question. What about the future?
Let's go back to our chart one last time and look at that final bar for the 2024-25 period. You can see the forecast, that blue bar, is set at 340,000. But the orange bar, for what actually happens, well, it's missing. It's a complete unknown. And given the track record we've just walked through over the last 3 years, you have to admit a massive question mark is hanging right over that official forecast. This whole pattern of underestimation makes the future path very, very uncertain.
And this leaves us with the fundamental question at the heart of all this data. How can a society really plan for its future, for new homes, for schools, for hospitals, when the gap between the official plan and the lived reality is consistently this wide? It's a huge question and definitely something to think about.